Assalamualaikum everyone. I am Omaira Emantil. So this is the continuation of the recording of the chapter 5. My topic is essays. Essays classified as non-objective tests allow for the assessment of higher order thinking skills. So ang essay ay hindi po siya classified as non-objective test. Basically, hindi po siya included sa objective test. According to my research, essay is classified as subjective test, which is pag sinabi nating subjective test is hindi po humihingi ng exactly answer. It is based on thinking skill and evaluated by giving an opinions of the students. For instance, the oral presentation or the portfolios. Sinabi naman po nating objective test is ito yung mga binibigay sa atin ng mga teacher natin, which is kailangan natin ibigay yung exactly answer doon. For instance, the multiple choice, identification, true or false, and etc. So, yun po. Ang pagkakaiba lang nila is ang subjective is hindi po umihingi ng exactly answer. Ang objective is kailangan mong maibigay yung exactly answer. Or basically, si subject test is hindi po humihingi ng exactly answer. Essay question can be used to measure attainment of a variety of objectives. Or essay question can be used to assess the higher order thinking skills of the student. So number 1 is conferring. In conferring essay, it requires students to analyze and evaluate the similarities and the difference between two or more concepts, ideas, or objects. This type of essay helps students to develop their critical thinking skills, to identify patterns, make connection, and draw conclusions. And the second is relating cause and effect. Cause and effect essay, students need to identify the cause and analyze the effects. This essay helps to develop their analytical skill. Number 3 is justifying. In justifying essay, requires students to take a position on issue and provide evidence to support their stance. This type of essay helps students to develop their persuasive writing skill and to articulate their arguments clearly, marshal evidence effectively, and address opposing viewpoints. Number 3 is summarizing. Summarizing essays requires students to condense a piece of text or information into a concise and accurate form. This type of essay helps students to develop their reading comprehension skill, to identify key points, extract essential details, and synthesize information from multiple sources. Number 4, summarizing. In summarizing essay, requires students to condense a piece of text or information into a concise and accurate form. So this type of essay helps students to develop their reading comprehension skills by forcing them to identify the key points, extract essential details, and synthesize information from multiple sources. So number 5 is generalizing. Generalizing essays requires students to identify patterns, trends, or principles from a set of data or observation. This type of essay helps students develop their inductive reasoning skill, to draw conclusions from specific examples and apply those conclusions to broader context. Number 6 is inferring. In inferring essays, requires students to make logical prediction or conclusion based on available information or evidence. This type of essay helps students to develop their critical thinking skill and to evaluate the credibility of sources, analyze cause and effect relationship, and make informed judgments. Number 7 is classifying. In classifying essays requires students to organize and categorize items based on shared characteristics or criteria. This type of essay helps students to develop their analytical skills to identify similarities and the difference, make connections, and create meaningful categories. Number 7. Classifying. Classifying essay requires students to organize and categorize items based on shared characteristics or criteria. This type of essay helps students develop their analytical thinking and identify the similarities and the differences, make connection and create the meaningful categories. Number 8 is applying. Applying essays requires students to use theoretical concept or principle to solve practical problems or analyze real-world scenarios. This type of essay helps students to develop their problem-solving skills to translate abstract ideas into concrete application. Number 9 is analyzing. Analyzing essays requires students to break down complex concepts or events into their constituent parts and examine the relationship between those parts. This type of essay helps students to develop their critical thinking skill to identify underlying causes, evaluate assumptions, and construct logical arguments. Number 10 is evaluating. Evaluating essays requires students to assess the merits of a particular idea, plan, or product. This type of essay helps students to develop their critical thinking skills to identify criteria for evaluation, weigh evidence, and make informed judgments. Number 11 is creating. In creating essay requires students to use their imagination and knowledge to generate original ideas, solutions, or products. This type of essay helps students to develop their creativity and problem-solving skills, to think outside the box, consider multiple perspectives, and communicate their ideas effectively. Types of essay: restricted essay and non-restricted or extended essay. So, restricted essay, it is also referred as a short focus response, which is the teacher typically asks students to provide a brief answer to a specific questions, such as write an example, list your reason, or compare and contrast two techniques. So, for instance, is in the essay test is nakasulat doon is list a 3 reasons why you inspired to study every day. So, the students is, ang susulat lang niya doon is yung 3 reasons lang na question. So, that the restricted essay. In short, short essay lang po siya na may limitation po. Non-restricted or extended essay. Extended response can be much longer and complex than short responses, but students are encouraged to remain focused and organized. So, in extended response po is allow to students to express their own ideas and internal relationship among ideas and use their own strategy for organization. So, sa extended essay po is wala pong hinihinging correct answer, which is nakadepende po yun sa students kung paano niya sasagutin yung essay test na ibinigay ni teacher. For example is the reflection paper and the reaction paper. So, ang difference lang po nila is ang restricted essay po is kailangan po ng maibigay yung correct answer, and the extended essay po is wala pong hinihinging correct answer, which is ang extended essay po is more on opinions ng students na kung saan doon po sinusukat ng teacher yung learning outcomes ng students. And they are typically scored based on a set of the criteria such as content, organization, and style. The following are rules of thumb which facilitate the scoring of essays. Rule number 1. Press the direction in such a way that students are guided on the key concept to be included. So in these rules, emphasize the importance of providing a clear and specific instructions to the student when assigning essays. The instruction should identify the key concept that the essay should address and specify the format and response. So for example, using details and information from the article, 100 Islands, summarize the main points of the article for a complete and correct response. Consider these points. Its history 10 points, it's interesting 10 points, why it is landmark 5 points. Rule number 2. Inform the students on the criteria to be used for the grading their essays. So in these rules, highlights the importance of providing of students with grading criteria in advance of assign. And this rule allows the students to focus their efforts on the aspects of the essays that will be most heavily weighted in the grading process. For example, your essay will be graded according to the following criteria: context 50%, organization 25%, and mechanics is 25%. So these grading rubrics provide students with the clear and understanding of how their essay will be evaluated. Rule number 3. Put a time limit on essay tests. This rule is important to ensure that all students have an equal opportunity to complete the essays, and it also helps to reduce the risk of your students. Rule number 4. Decide on your essay grading system prior to getting essay of your students. So these rules helps to ensure that the grading process is fair and consistent. The instructor should decide on the grading criteria and rubrics in advance of the assignment so that all essays are evaluated using the same standards. Rule number 5 is evaluate all the students' answer to one question before proceeding to the next questions. These rules helps to ensure that the grading process is fair and consistent. It is also helps to reduce the risk of halo effects, which is the teaching to give students higher grade on subsequent question if they have already performed well on previous questions. Rule number 6. Evaluate answer to essay questions without knowing the identity of the writer. So this rule is important to prevent personal bias from influencing the scoring. When the grader does not know the identity of the writer, they are more likely to judge the answer based on its quality rather than on their own of the student. So rule number 7 is whenever possible, have 2 or more persons grade each answer. This rule is important to ensure the reliability of scoring. Having 2 or more independent judgment helps to reduce the risk of error of bias. Rule number 8. Do not provide optional questions. This rule is ensured that all students are being assessed on the same material and their score can be conferred fairly. When teachers provide optional questions, it is possible for students to choose the questions that they are most comfortable with, which can lead to inflated scores. Rule number 9. Provide information about the value or weight of the question and how it will be scored. So this rule is important because it allows students to understand how much question worth and how their performance will evaluated. When students know how much question is worth, they can focus their time and energy to the question that worth the most points. So lastly is the rule number 10. Emphasize higher level thinking skills. So this rule is important because it is encourage students to think critically about the material and develop their problem solving skills. So that's all. Thank you.